This video is brought to you by Grainger Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country. Guys, this is the biggest and the baddest, and I would say the most important video that TFL Truck has done in recent years.
Well, we've got a brand new Power Stroke, we've got a brand new Duramax, and the new Cummins.
And in today's video, we're going to find out what kind of fuel economy they get towing.
Today we're pulling 3 identical trailers. These are ATC 28-foot long car haulers. They weigh just under 5,000 pounds each. And we're running the Denver 100 loop about 115 miles at the same time with all of these 3 diesels. All right, so we're filling up and topping off all 3 trucks at the same pump. And this is a truck stop, so the pumps are big and fast. My tank here in the F-250 Tremor is 34 gallons, which is not the biggest tank of these 3 trucks. The Chevy has a 36-gallon tank, and the Ram Rebel Heavy Duty has a 31-gallon tank. So guys, the reason why I said this is one of the most important videos we've done is because we get this question almost every day. Which heavy-duty truck should I buy to tow my camper or my car hauler?
Absolutely, and we got all the 3 big new ones, so we're going to see in the real world what the fuel economy difference is.
It's also important to note too that we're planning to keep enough distance between our trucks and also switch off the lead truck so that no one particular truck is drafting on the trailer ahead of it.
Yeah, but Tommy, how are you going to manage this loop with such a small displacement engine?
I don't know. How is Kase going to manage this down 2 cylinders and 2 gears?
He's only got 6 cylinders and 8 gears.
Oh, Tommy going on the attack. Look, I agree with Andre. We both have 6.7s. Tommy, you got a 6.6. Maybe that's the reason that you've got 100 less torque than I've got, and even more less than what Andre's got.
You guys do know we're going for efficiency. Smaller engine, in my mind, that seems like it would be a little bit more efficient.
And we're all set up the same way. We have our towing mirrors extended out. We're using tow haul modes. We're using exhaust brakes, even though we may not need an exhaust brake today that much. Yeah, and all 3 of these are off-road versions of each truck.
Pretty cool. Now listen, all 3 of these have off-road tires, albeit slightly different sizes and brands. They all have locking rear diffs. They all have off-road suspension of one kind or another. So from an actual spec standpoint, sure, Andre's got some nicer leather than I do, and he has massaging seats, which is a little ridiculous in a truck. But from an actual mechanical standpoint, they're pretty much head-to-head.
Powering the Ram is the updated 6.7 Cummins, 430 horsepower, 1,075 pound-feet of torque. But the newest thing about this powertrain is the new ZF 8-speed transmission, and our rear axle ratio here is a 342.
Unlike Kase, the hood scoop on the Silverado is very much functional, and underneath that hood scoop we're going to find a 6.6-liter Duramax, 470 horsepower, 975 pound-feet of torque, and of course an Allison-branded 10-speed automatic transmission. Just like the Ram, the Chevy is running a 342 axle ratio.
In the new Ford here, I don't need a fake hood scoop. I don't need a real hood scoop. This Power Stroke V8 is the most powerful. This high output version of it has 500 horsepower and 1,200 pound-feet of torque, has Ford's 10-speed heavy-duty automatic transmission, and a 355 rear axle ratio. So maybe not the most efficient axle ratio, but I think I'm still hopeful. And no matter which car or truck you have, if you plan on keeping it for a longer period of time, you should check out GraingerWarranty.com. Use the link in the description below. Grainger Warranty is one of the best sellers of factory-backed extended warranties across the country, and you could save some money while doing it, about $1,000 on average.
And you don't have to buy it immediately when you buy a brand new vehicle. You could wait a little bit and then get that warranty. And when your truck needs service, you can be sure that they're using certified components, OEM quality stuff, and the work is done at a certified facility or a dealership anywhere across the country.
The truck I'm driving is a 2025 Ford F-250 Tremor. Of course, it's a diesel, but it's also a Platinum Plus, which means it's the most luxurious version of this off-road F-250 Tremor. And Ford does something a little bit differently than GM and Ram. Ford is offering this Tremor off-road package both on diesel and gas versions of the F-250 and F-350 trucks. In GM, you can only get the off-road versions of their heavy duties in the 2500 series, not 1-ton 3500 series trucks. But GM also has the ZR2 and the ZR2 Bisons, and of course the GMC versions of those trucks. And kind of similar thing for the Ram, the HD Rebel is only a 2500. So I think this is a little bit better because Ford is offering more options. And the Tremor package is usually around $4,500, and that gets you the tires, the skid plates, the running boards, some of the off-road gear, the axle breather tubes for a little bit more water fording capability, all those things. But these three trucks are very comparable, like we said, and this diesel and this 10-speed automatic have been known to be very efficient. We've been testing this version of the 6.7 Power Stroke over several years in dualies and also single rear wheel heavy duty pickup trucks, and it's come near the top or on top in the past. So I'm very hopeful that this Denver 100 with a trailer, that Ford can come out on top.
The Silverado is the perfect sweet spot of these three trucks. So that Ram is very rugged. It's the most rough and tumble of the three, but it's also a little bit compromised for on-road use, and I don't love that unpainted front end, which is great for going through trees so you don't scratch up paint, but it just looks a little bit unfinished, a little unpolished. On the other hand, that Ford is very polished. It's the most luxurious of these three, but it's almost a little bit too nice for everyday working use. Now, I think that this Silverado Trail Boss, sure, it gives you the off-road gear that the other ones have. It doesn't have an e-locker. It's got an auto locker with that G80, but it still has KO2 tires. It still has a relatively upgraded suspension, but it also has independent front suspension. It doesn't have the same bougie features that Ford has, but it's got such a nice ride with that independent front suspension and the torsion bars. It just kind of floats along, but retains towing stability, which I just love about this truck. So this Chevy, as spec'd, is definitely the cheapest of the three, but it is still remarkably luxurious. It doesn't have a sunroof, it doesn't have ventilated seats, but at $77,000 sticker, this is exactly how I would spec this truck. It's got the heated seats, it's got the heated steering wheel, it's got the premium seat material, so it feels premium, but you're also not paying more than some houses for the truck. Sure, it's still very expensive, and we don't have adaptive cruise control. That's the one thing I wish this truck did have, but it does have blind spot monitoring, it does have power seats, at least on the driver's side, and it's just a really, really well-equipped truck for this price point, at least I think.
I'm set up with adaptive cruise control here in the Ram. This is a pretty well-optioned truck, so I do have a few options that I wouldn't personally spec if it were my money and my truck. The Ram boxes in the rear take up a bit of space from your bed, and I wouldn't do the passenger screen if I had the choice, but a lot of the rest of what we get here is all pretty nice stuff. Nice materials, it's a good looking interior. I like a lot of the technology features, and the biggest thing that sets apart this truck from previous Ram Cummins is this 8-speed transmission. Yeah, they've gone through and made some adjustments to the engine itself, and the extra power and torque is always welcome. But having an 8-speed transmission instead of the old 6-speed like what we had in our company truck really makes a substantial and a noticeable difference. So this transmission just gives you more gear ratios to choose from. it gives you a better towing experience, and it brings this truck way more into the modern feeling that you want to get from these current powertrains that you can get in any of the HD trucks. 8 speeds in the transmission makes it tow better, makes it feel better if you get off the beaten path and you're in low range doing a little bit of off-roading, since these are all off-road specs. And with a 5,000-pound trailer hooked up behind this truck, you really can't even tell that it's there. The powertrain definitely can't tell. If anything, this truck feels happier with that extra weight behind it. And as far as how it steers, how it rides, how it handles, it feels better with the trailer hooked up behind it than it does when it's on its own. Probably my absolute favorite thing about this Cummins powertrain, however, is the exhaust brake on this truck. I've spent quite a bit of time in the other two, and I liked the exhaust brake on this truck the most by far. I like the way that it sounds, but it's also very effective at slowing you down. Following Tommy earlier, I had a couple times when I saw his brake lights kicked on because he was using his friction brakes to slow down, and my exhaust brake was effective enough that I didn't have to.
This video would not be possible without our friends at Way Safe Hitches. They have aluminum height adjustable hitches. They have steel ones. These aluminum ones are rated to up to 18,500 pounds, and they have built-in gauges so you can know exactly the amount of weight you have on the tongue of your hitch. We have about 500 pounds, so we're perfect. To check out all the options and the latest pricing and deals, click on the link below, way-safe.com/TFL. And also, this video would not be possible without our friends at Complete Trailers. They only carry the highest quality trailer brands and a variety of them, and they have stores in Texas, Colorado, and California. And look at this, they have a brand new facility right here in Brighton, Colorado. Check them out using the link in the description below. Hey Tommy, you have a lot of old Mercedes cars, right?
Too many, Andre.
Well, this is how you can carry them.
Dude, these things are beauty. So it's a fully enclosed trailer where the sides open up, easy to get in and out of, a great way to add some more light. And these also have a nice little build out on the front of the trailer. Now, Andre, what do these weigh?
So just under 5,000 pounds, about 4,800 pounds empty like this. But you could put a large vehicle in here, even something quite long, because you got a lot of floor space.
That's right, so not super heavy, but they do have a pretty big aero profile, which is really gonna come into play at 70 miles an hour.
Hey, Tommy, what's going on?
Well, I'm noticing something interesting between you and I, because we both have 10 speeds. There's a lot of instances where your truck is holding 10th, but my Silverado is actually holding 8th gear. So even at 70 miles an hour, it was spinning like 2,000 RPM, which doesn't sound high, but it's a little high for a diesel truck. And I think that's that tow haul mode. It's much more willing to hold lower gears, which is great because it's deeper into the power band. But I think that's going to hurt my efficiency a little bit.
Hey, Tommy, I'm in H gear too. I guess we might as well have the same transmission, huh?
No, Case, no, because when I'm not towing, this truck is always in 10. But like, for example, now, I just stuck it into low so I can see what gear it's holding. Yeah, and it's in 9, but it's not actually going to 10. Kind of interesting.
Maybe your truck needs some more torque.
Guys, it's almost 1,000 pound-feet and not that down a torque. Well, Tommy, you need better gauges actually, because
Case and I can clearly see always what gear we're in, and you have to finagle with your range select buttons.
Yeah, I really hate that. It's super annoying. To know what gear I'm in, I have to go into the manual shift setting and then figure out where it stops upshifting. It's pretty annoying.
Guys, I literally can't see your truck. It's just a black blob behind me and then white that blends in the front of the white trailer.
Well, this truck is also the shortest wheelbase of the three. It's the most compact, which, if you need to maneuver around a tight parking lot, can actually be kind of nice.
Yeah, for the price of your truck, I could buy my truck and a Mini Cooper. So I think I win the maneuverability.
But Case, can you explain to us why you have under 2,000 pounds of payload?
You know, Andre, I wish I had a good answer for that, but I kind of wonder that myself.
Yeah, in the Ram, if you want to be competitive with a payload, you got to step up to a 3500, which is kind of weird.
But I do have a really good gauge layout here in my center screen. I've got my coolant temp numeric readout. I'm at 189 degrees. I've got oil temp, oil pressure, battery voltage, turbo pressure. I can look at what my exhaust brake is doing. I can see my transmission temp. So the gauges I can pull up here are very detailed, and there's just a lot of different gauges I can pull up. For towing tech, I do have my towing and trailers page here where I can set up a trailer. Right now I have it set up as a car trailer. One thing that I do wish is I wish that this would let you pick an actual name for your trailer, so I can go in and I can select from this list. So I can tell it to be car trailer, but I can't give it a name of my choosing. We can go in and adjust what braking settings we want. You can even set up a TPMS system so that you can monitor the pressure in your trailer tires, which is pretty cool. So you can see that there on this screen. You can see what your gain is set to. So you've got a little gauge that when I press here, you'll be able to see how much braking force you're using. Pretty cool. So that's some of the tech that I've got. You can also set up some cameras and do a light check. The switches for tow haul mode and for my exhaust brake are integrated into the screen here. On other models of the Ram, it's actual physical buttons at the bottom of the screen instead, and I do prefer that. But one thing that I do like about the Ram is that we can get some really good information on some of our different temperatures, and you can even see what those temperatures are doing over time as you tow long distance.
In the Chevy here, I can configure my trailering page, so if I click the guest trailer, I can now add a new trailer. If I go switch profiles, you can see all the trailers we've added. I can do add a new trailer here. I'm going to call it the ATC. Cool. And then you can see conventional fifth wheel gooseneck. We're going conventional. It's going to be cargo. Set up features. Go through all these different features, which is pretty cool. There we go. And then I can run a light check as well. I'm going to do a light test there. Pretty cool stuff. It's nicely integrated. There's also a full checklist screen, and you can also set up weight warnings and towing assist there. And then the trailer brake controller is down here by my right knee. It's easy to get to. I can adjust the gain here. This truck also has an exhaust brake just right here, which I can click on, and a tow mode to the left of the steering wheel.
As far as towing technology, Ford has it. For example, I have onboard scales. This is unique to Ford. Basically, it's an estimation of the load in the truck, including everything in the bed, all the passengers, and the trailer. And it tells me my payload right here, and it's calibrated for every truck if it's equipped, and it just measures how high the suspension is. I have Pro Power on board. That would be cool if, I could charge maybe an items in the trailer as I'm pulling it, if I have the wire long enough. And finally, on my towing page, I could define trailers. I can select between them. Very easy to use. I think this tech is equivalent to what GM offers as far as trailer management is concerned. I think it's a little bit better than Ram. Ford also offers Pro Trailer Backup Assist feature right here. You could set it up and use it with a variety of different trailers. Ram has a very similar feature, but GM does not. My brake controller is right here by my right knee. Very easy to reach. I can activate it in an emergency. I can control my brake gain, and my drive mode switch is right here. So I can go to tow haul mode. And just like the other trucks, I do have an exhaust brake, and I have two versions of it: automatic to maintain a certain speed, and full on to help me slow down. So as I sit in my ventilated massaging seat and looking at my heads-up display with all my data, I can also see my MPG.
All right, Andre, what's your truck saying?
I'm actually surprised. It says 13.0.
It's quite a bit higher than what mine's saying. Mine is predicting 10.9 at this halfway point.
And I'm closer to Andre's number. Right now, my dash is showing 12.6. But of course, all of these numbers are not verified like what we'll get when we get to the end of this loop. and check it at the pump.
Now, we've had a pretty good drive so far on this trip, but as we go through Golden, Colorado, we're kind of hitting some pretty crazy side winds here, so it might get a little interesting.
Yeah, Tommy, are you feeling some trailer sway? I felt just a little bit of wind affecting my trailer.
Yeah, definitely a little bit, but we're hanging in there. You know, we're bringing the speeds down a little bit closer to 60, 65 in this section. That's where the speed limit's at.
Yeah, it's definitely a concern for sure.
One thing worth noting is we tried our hardest to get 3 identical trailers, and they're the same length, the same model, which is great, the ATC 550. But my trailer in the Chevy does have an AC unit on the top, and it also has just a slight awning that's poking out the side, and that could have an impact on fuel efficiency. So I do apologize, they're not 100% identical, but they are as identical as we could get them on this day.
All right, well, we have to talk about how much these trucks cost, right?
Yeah, and why don't you kick off that conversation with the Ford, Andre?
Oh boy. Okay.
An F-250 Tremor can be had with a gas engine or diesel. This is an F-250 Platinum Plus, which is actually a new trim for this year, which includes so many luxury items. I can't even list them all.
That's true. It's definitely a well-optioned truck. You've got, like you said, massaging seats, a lot of features, and the high-output power stroke, but I feel like you're stalling.
Well, the high output power stroke costs almost $13,000. That's an option. And the final sticker price on this truck is $108,400.
I'm sitting in an expensive truck myself, and even that sounds steep. The Cummins that I'm driving, this is also a pretty heavily optioned truck. So getting this 6.7 Cummins, that's about a $12,600 option, which is not cheap. And all things together, with the big screen and the passenger side screen and the nice interior on this truck, this sits at about $99,000.
Well, I've got the cheapest truck by a huge margin. So this Silverado, as spec'd, is under $80,000. It was 77 and some change MSRP, which is pretty awesome.
But also cheating. How is that cheating?
Well, you could have been in a Silverado 2500 CR2 Bison, you know, luxury truck, which is also could be like almost 100K.
Yeah, well, that's not the truck I am in though. So you're right, these trucks can also get very expensive, but the diesel engine option on the Chevy trucks is cheaper than the diesel on the other two.
All right, well, let's get to the pump and get to the bottom of this. So my computer says 13.9, 119.4 miles, and my GPS says nothing. My GPS broke. Okay, so it's about 119, 120 miles.
Well,
Alrighty. Let's see what the damage is.
All right, Andre, so we averaged the trucks out
Okay.
based on what their trip computer says.
119 and a half miles.
Yep, divided by 8.57 gallons, right?
Yes.
13.9.
And my truck said the same thing.
Wow.
Wow, that's pretty good. I'm impressed. I was expecting 11, maybe 12, but 13.9 Case?
Pretty good. So the Chevy actually says we went further than the other two trucks at 121.3, but it also says we did just 11.7 MPG, so let's see what the pump says. Listen, if my fuel economy is way lower, I blame that little AC unit on top of my trailer. Coming up to the Ford number, stop!
keep going.
No, stop! up! Oh no!
Where we get to see just how bad it is, Tommy.
Oh man, it just keeps going.
It's a disaster for you.
I didn't drive 2 extra miles. The truck thinks I drove 2 extra miles. We drove the same exact distance.
Oh, you're more than a gallon worse.
What? How's that possible?
All right, so we drove 119.5 miles divided by 9.963, 11.99. So it did better than the computer.
Well, that's 2 MPG worse than the Ford.
It's 2 MPG worse than the Ford.
Yeah,
Almost 2.
almost 2.
All right, but I want to see the new comments.
Me too.
Okay.
Let's do it. Here in the RAM, it's telling me I have 13.3 MPG after our trip. Let's find out. Oh no!
Oh, you just went over.
Stop! Stop! Okay,
9.41.
so we got 119.5 divided by 9.415. 12.7. So it's actually a good bit worse than what the computer was telling me. I'm still more than half an MPG better than Tommy and his Duramax, but quite a bit off of the Ford, more than a whole MPG off of what you got.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is the following, Tommy.
Yeah.
The moral
Oh.
of 12.7. The moral of the story is this: in order to be the most efficient and save the most money on fuel, you have to buy the most expensive truck.
Yeah, the more expensive, the better on fuel.
I think the other moral is you could spend less and have a lot of additional fuel for diesel.
No, but you need to buy a Power Stroke if you want to be the most efficient. That's the moral of the story.
Seems in this test that might be true.
Okay.
Well, folks, let us know what you think in the comments section below of our results. Were they what you were expecting? And as always, this has been Tommy.
Andre,
In case.
See you next time.
let's go eat. I'm really hungry.
Starving.